the silence of 1981 nights, young men began dying mysteriously. Each had described the same nightmare before death, a burned-faced man with metal claws hunting them in their sleep. Doctors called it nightmare death syndrome. Victims screamed, suffocated, and died in deep sleep, as if something unseen ripped their souls away. No wounds, just faces frozen in horror. Among them was a young refugee named Samban. He swore that if he slept, something would kill him. He stayed awake for days, coffee, pills, tears. Then, exhausted, he finally slept, and never woke up. When police found him, the room was untouched, but his expression was indescribable. He looked as though he had seen hell. His heart had stopped for no reason. The body smelled faintly of burned metal. These real cases made the papers. Wes Craven, future creator of Freddy Krueger, read the report. He became obsessed. What if something could actually kill us in our dreams? He wondered. The deadliest nightmare in cinema was born. But the scariest part wasn't fiction. Doctors in Los Angeles recorded dozens of similar deaths among Southeast Asian refugees, all claiming to fear the same thing, a spirit that attacked between sleep and death. They called it the Dabtsog, a Hmong demon that crushed victims' chests as they slept. Elders said it fed on trauma and guilt, on those who fled their past but couldn't escape their nightmares. The legend said the Dabtsog needed no body. It invaded dreams, twisting reality and turning memory into torture. The more fear its victim felt, the stronger it grew. Sleep was its open door. Freddy Krueger was born from this idea. A burned man killed by angry parents, returning in spirit to slaughter teenagers in their dreams. What few know is that real deaths continued after the film's release. Craven thought it was coincidence, until he started dreaming of a man in a hat, his face melting. He'd wake drenched in sweat, the air reeking of smoke. One night, he heard scratching above his bed. The lights flickered. Craven began keeping a dream journal. Every page described the same figure. Tall, shadow-wrapped, sharpening blades while whispering his name. Krueger, like metal scraping his skull. Nights became torment. He saw the man watching from corners, the air heavy, clocks frozen. When he tried to move, cold claws traced his chest. He woke with real scratches, thin, red, burning. No one believed him. They blamed stress. But the burnt smell, the cold air, and the constant whisper, "You stole me," followed him. Craven feared he had given form to something ancient and hungry. He found similar entities across cultures. The Mara in Scandinavia, Tokoloshi in Africa, Kanashibari in Japan, all shared one trait. They hunted those who dared challenge the world of dreams. Craven realized the Dabtsog had found a bridge in him, a vessel through fiction. By shaping fear into art, he had revived the demon itself. And now, the monster wanted gratitude. One night he woke to a faint laugh. On the mirror, written in burned fingerprints, "Thank you for bringing me back." The bathroom steamed, but the faucet was locked tight. Days blurred into delirium. Shadows moved alone. Footsteps echoed upstairs. The hat-wearing figure appeared in reflections, never head-on. Fear became a physical weight on his chest. One night, he dreamt of the film set, actors frozen like melted dolls. In the center stood Freddy, watching. When the villain removed his hat, Craven saw his own burned face reflected in the blades. He woke screaming. After that, he burned his journals. Yet burns appeared on his arms overnight. Doctors blamed allergies, but the smell of scorched flesh returned each night. Years later, in interviews, Craven admitted part of the idea came from a real man he'd seen as a boy, a disfigured vagrant staring at him through the window. The glint in his eyes wasn't human. In his hometown, rumors spoke of Freddy Krueger, a night janitor at an abandoned school. Children feared him, saying he watched them sleep through cracked windows. In 1953, children began disappearing. Inside the school, claw marks lined the walls. A smell of kerosene lingered. Friedrich vanished too, carrying a bucket of gasoline. Days later, his body was found burned in a cabin. He had set himself ablaze, but strangely, the fire seemed to start from within. His heart, however, was untouched. The town tried to forget, but nightmares spread. Residents dreamed of a burned man smiling in shadows, a collective nightmare no one dared discuss. They said Friedrich made a pact. Beaten and humiliated by neighbors, he swore revenge even after death. The night he died, he screamed that fire would make him eternal. Years later, during the school's demolition, workers heard footsteps, children laughing and metal scraping concrete. One man fell and died. Witnesses saw a burning figure watching from the basement. Craven found Friedrich's name in police archives, the same surname, the same stare. It was as if the past had fused with the present, shaping the monster that haunted him. Research showed Friedrich was born in 1897 in Springwood, Ohio. His mother was burned alive for witchcraft. As a boy, he said, "Fire doesn't hurt, it transforms." The flames had chosen him. At 17, he worked in a crematorium. Fascinated by the sound of cracking bones, he claimed the dead spoke through fire. They answer when the fire sings, he'd whisper, smiling with black teeth. After his mother's death, he slept in the cemetery. Locals saw red lights flicker at night and heard children's voices calling, "Come play, Krueger." None dared enter after midnight. One night, police found him in a trance beside a fresh grave, chanting in Old German, clutching a burning dagger. He smiled. "She woke me. Fire never sleeps." He was sent to an asylum. Doctors noted he didn't dream. He laughed in his sleep. Sometimes his bed smoked, the air thick with the scent of metal and burned skin. In 1922, the asylum burned down. No patients survived. Friedrich's body was never found, only melted claw marks on the walls and one message in blood. "In dreams, we are eternal." Decades later, residents claimed to see him in nightmares, his body aflame, calling their names. Some awoke with burns, others never awoke at all. Craven noticed he hadn't consciously chosen the name Freddy. Draft pages showed a trembling F written as if by another hand. On set, bulbs exploded. The air smelled of ashes. Footage vanished. Film reels melted. Actors shared the same nightmare. Freddy watching, saying, "I'm not fiction, I'm the doorway." Some quit, terrified. During one scene, actor Robert Englund screamed mid-shot. He said claws scraped his neck, but the gloves were on the table. The cut was real, faint smoke rising from the wound. The film released in 1984. That month, 3 people died in identical ways. Police called it coincidence. Autopsies found burns inside their lungs. Craven begged the studio to stop sequels, but each film brought more deaths. Each screening fed Friedrich's spirit, his power multiplying with every nightmare. Fans reported knocks on their windows after watching the film. Others dreamed of a burned man whispering, "Thank Wes, now I can see you." Fiction and curse had merged forever. In 1987, an electrician died on set. Security footage showed a hat-wearing shadow behind him. No one else was present. The tape was sealed, never shown again. The press called it the Freddy curse, but Craven knew better. The ancient fire had returned. The entity thrived on fear, attention, glowing screens. The world was feeding it. In interviews, Craven looked exhausted, aged beyond his years. He spoke of hands pulling him toward a burning furnace. Sometimes he'd pause mid-sentence and mutter, "He's writing me now." Fans sent letters describing identical dreams. Freddy in hallways, claws clinking, that metallic laugh. Some smelled smoke. Others heard voices whispering from unplugged TVs. Craven stopped sleeping. He used pills, candles, lights on. One night he wrote his final note. "He doesn't need me anymore. He's learned to cross alone." Then he slept, for the first time in 3 days. The next morning, neighbors smelled smoke. Craven was alive but confused. The walls of his room were scorched. The mirror bore 4 deep claw marks, etched into glass. His health declined. He claimed to hear laughter in empty halls. "He's still watching," he said. At a press event, the lights went out for 3 seconds. When they returned, red marks appeared on his wrist. Years later, Craven admitted, "Nightmare on Elm Street wasn't fiction, it was an accidental ritual, a summoning made with cameras, script, and collective fear." He whispered, "Each dream of him makes him stronger." When Craven died in 2015, a nurse reported something odd. Fire alarms blared for no reason. The heart monitor drew 4 lines before flatlining, and the room's temperature rose 8 degrees. Since then, unexplained sleep deaths have returned. Online forums share accounts of a burned man smiling in the dark, whispering, "The movies were just the beginning." In the digital age, the legend found new flesh. Haunted videos, corrupted files, nightmares live-streamed. The Dabzog had evolved. Now, one glowing screen was enough to invite him in. Sleep researchers note a global spike in unexplained deaths, victims frozen in terror, hearts stopped mid-dream, most after horror marathons or sleepless nights before screens. One streamer whispered, "Freddy," 3 times before turning off his light. In the monitor's reflection, a shadow appeared. Hat, burns, a crooked smile. The feed ended with scraping and heavy breathing. Forensics say the victims die of sheer panic, their brains burning out as if convinced they're on fire. No marks, just ozone, metal, and heat hanging in still air. In secret forums, rumors spread of a lost Wes Craven recording. He warns, Freddy isn't a character, he's a living idea. All he needs is a dreamer to exist. The video ends with Craven staring into the camera. Something moves behind him. Focus fails. When it returns, he's gone. But a shadow in a hat stands smiling. Bulbs burst. The audio warps into a metallic scream. Some believe the name Freddy Krueger is a seal, an invocation. To hear it, repeat it, or dream it is to open the cracks between worlds. Fire doesn't kill. It awakens what sleeps inside fear. In the still of night, people hear laughter in hallways. Scratches appear on walls. In mirrors, reflections lag. Behind them, a hat, a glint of steel. The myth lives on. He exists through screens, dreams, and whispers. Freddy isn't from cinema. He's from the silence before sleep, the moment you think you're safe. That's when he comes, and never leaves. So tonight, before you sleep, remember, the fire still burns in the dark. If you smell smoke, don't look. If you hear laughter, don't move. Just pray you don't dream. Because if you do, he'll find you. And the nightmare begins again.